process of development.
Erik Erikson, born June 15, 1902, was a German-born American developmental psychologist and psychoanalyst, known for his theory on psychosocial development of human beings. Erikson believed that development continues throughout life. In his psychosocial theory, Erikson proposed that personality development is determined by the interaction of an internal maturational plan and external societal demands. He proposed that the order of the stage is biologically fixed. Each stage is masked by a struggle between two opposing tendencies, which are experienced by the person. The struggles themselves are resolved through an interactive process involving both inner, psychological, and outer social influences. First stage, trust versus mistrust. Birth to 12 to 18 months. Newborns leave the warmth and security of the uterus for an unfamiliar world. They are at their most vulnerable state. They are needy, in need of light and guidance. If parents respond to their needs consistently, the infant comes to trust and feel secure in the world. Feeling the embrace of protection from their parents, the world is not always pleasant. It can also be dangerous. Not everything will be according to one's plan. Parents may not reach a falling baby in time, accidentally feeding them with an infant food that is too hot, unaware of happy rashes. Their diapers might be full, and the list could go on. With all this, infants learn to mistrust. The balance of trust and mistrust, infants acquire hope that creating an opening to new experiences, though tinged with wariness that danger may arise. Second stage, autonomy versus shame and doubt, 1 to 3 years of age. Children gradually come to understand that they control their own actions. With this understanding, children strive for autonomy, for independence of others. They try to walk on their own and play by themselves. They may even try to prove themselves better than other children, which in turn might end in mischief. In such mischief rises the contradictory of autonomy, which is doubt and shame. Doubt that a child can handle demanding situations, and by shame that results in failure. It is in this stage that children want praise for what they have done rather than anger. Receiving praise will raise their confidence and their sense of autonomy, while facing anger will result with the rise of the feeling of being a failure that will lower the confidence and self-esteem of such a young age. A good blend of autonomy, shame, and doubt gives rise to will, the knowledge that within limits youngsters can act on their world intentionally. Third stage, initiative versus guilt, 3 to 6 years. This is the continuation of the second stage. For as children develop their sense of autonomy, then comes the part where they want to try things by themselves. There are parents that have their 3 and 4 years old take responsibility for themselves, like dressing themselves or eating their meal by themselves. Youngsters also begin to identify with adults and their parents. They begin to understand that are available in their culture. Play begins to have purpose as children explore adult roles, teacher, mother, father, etc. Youngsters start to explore the environment on their own, ask many questions about the world, and imagine possibilities for themselves. This initiative is moderated by guilt as children realizes that their initiative may place them in conflict with others. They cannot pursue their ambitions with abandon, because too much mischievous children are not always appreciated. Their sense of purpose is achieved with a balance between individual initiative and a willingness to cooperate with others. Stage 4. Industry versus inferiority, 6 years to puberty. In this stage, children start to go to school, where they face a larger crowd on their own. Children's social relationships rapidly expand beyond the family and begin to include peers. Peer interaction begins in late infancy, where they grow to trust or mistrust another being. This interaction grows in significance during school-age years. In school, they may be there to learn and begin their cognitive development. The children also learn socialization in school, building friendship on the way. The idea of friendship continues to change as they grow into maturation. Friendship from being playmate with mutual liking and joint play to believing that friends can count on each other for help and support until intimacy and loyalty enter the picture. As they grow, they become part of the group structure forming in their school, always depending on those things that they do best in sports or in academics. It also identifies which group they belong. Because of their group structure, they start to feel the peer pressure and becoming conscious with themselves for their fear of being rejected and constantly trying to fit it in. Competency is the key that balances industry and inferiority. It opens opportunity for the children to feel proud of their accomplishment and to overcome the feeling of rejection. Fifth stage, identity versus role confusion. Adolescence. Erikson proposed stages of development. Each constitute a unique developmental challenge. For adolescents, the crisis is between identity and role confusion. As adolescents near entry into the adult world, they struggle to achieve an identity that will allow them to become part of that world. The crisis involves balancing the desire to try out many possible selves and the need to select a single self. Erikson believes that adolescents deliberately experiment with different selves to learn more about possible identities. Much of this testing is career-oriented. Sixth stage, intimacy versus isolation. According to Erikson, the major task for young adults is dealing with the psychosocial conflict of intimacy versus isolation. Erikson believed that once a person's identity has been established, he or she is ready to create a shared identity with another, the key ingredient for intimacy. Without a clear sense of identity, a person would be likely to become over-dependent on the partner as a source of identity. In this stage, young adults often seek friendship or romantic relationship with others. Not many are able to gain this kind of intimacy. They then feel a sense of isolation, of not being able to relate and what have you. Seventh stage, the challenge of making a difference versus self-absorption. Generativity versus stagnation. Middle adulthood. Generativity reflects middle-aged adults' need to ensure the continuity of society through activities such as socialization or having children. In work settings, generativity is most often expressed through mentoring. Helping a younger employee lead the job is one way to fulfill aspects of Erikson's phase of generativity. The mentor ensures that there is some continuity in the corporation of profession by the passing of knowledge or experiences he or she has gained over the years. Being a mentor helps middle-aged people fulfill their need to ensure the continuity of society and accomplish or produce something worthwhile. There are other ways or avenues for generativity such as volunteering, foster grandparent programs, and many more. Some adults who were not unable to achieve generativity becomes bored, self-indulgent, and unable to contribute to the continuation of society. Erikson referred to this stage as stagnation, in which people are not able to deal with the needs their children are unable to provide mentoring to younger adults. Otherwise, they become self-absorbed. Eighth stage, integrity versus despair. As people enter late life, they begin the struggle of integrity versus despair. Thoughts of one's own death are balanced by the realization that one will live on through children, grandchildren, great-grandchildren, and the community as a whole. This realization produces what Erikson calls a life-affirming involvement in the present. The struggle of integrity versus despair requires people to engage in life review. To achieve integrity, a person must come to terms with the choices and events that have made his or her life unique. There must also be an acceptance that life is drawing to a close. Looking back at life can resolve some of the second guessing of one's own decisions that might have occurred earlier in adulthood. People who were unsure whether they made the right choices concerning their children, for example, now feel satisfied that things eventually work out well. In contrast, others feel bitter about choices, blame themselves or others for their misfortunes, see their lives as meaningless, and they greatly fear death. These people end up in despair rather than integrity. Those who reach integrity become self-affirming and self-accepting. They judge their lives to have been worthwhile and good. They were glad to have lived their lives like they did. In conclusion and summarize the discussion. First stage. The infant develops a sense of whether the world can be trusted. Second stage. Child develops first sense of self as independent or shameful and doubtful. Third stage. Child develops ability to try new things and learn how to handle failure. Fourth stage. Child learns basic skills within his or her culture and learns to combat feelings of inferiority. Fifth stage. Adolescence determines sense of self. Sixth stage. Person makes commitment to another. Isolation and self-absorption occur in unsuccessful. Seventh stage. Person seeks to guide the next generation or risk feelings of personal incompleteness. Eighth stage. Older adult seeks a sense of personal accomplishments with life and accepts death or falls into despair.